Okay, you make a small promise every day, you follow through. That builds value. Whereas if you make a promise and you don't follow through, your value diminishes. It's so important that every day we make these small promises to ourselves. You know, whether it be like just say, you know, having a cold shower, just showing up, just being the best versions of yourself every day. It's not like life is hard. Life is hard. We've all been through shitty times. We know that. But at the end of the day, if you do the hard things now, life will be easy.
Now you can be the same, or you can be the change. Far straight from inside, break through the chains. No one to blame, nothing.
What's it like being a hottie in the vegan community?
You be the change that you wanna see in the world.
Bitcoin will not work as digital gold.
Engineering, technology, these arts of humanity, they are magic.
Everyone deserves the same chance, the same treatment, the same respect.
Checkity check, 1, 2, testing testicles. We got the chocolate noobs in the house.
Test. Oh man, this guy's voice message is the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, what do I have on it? I haven't even listened to it in a minute.
Hilarious.
What do I say?
This is so hilarious.
I'll probably try to sound extra black.
Because I wanted to listen to. I'm like, don't pick up. I want to hear this again. It's like it's Krishool.
Yo, it's Krishool in the house. Yo, my man, yeah. Drop me some message. Yeah, I'll get back to you when I can, cause I'm so cool, y'all. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, freaks and geeks, brothers and sisters around the world. It is a very special night. We have Alex Cheong. You sound like an action hero, man. I feel like you'd be in some Hollywood kung fu movie remake of Enter the Dragon or something like that. Look at this guy. This guy is a pretty boy. He is confident. He is a real manly man. I like you, Alex. I met you, I think, about 5 months ago at the Mind Body Spirit Festival, and as soon as I saw this guy, I'm like, this guy is a guy I can hang with. This guy's truth be told, man, we have so much in common. You're into spirituality, you're into business, and you have a sense of humor. We've been talking about a whole bunch of inappropriate things we're not going to bring up right now. But ladies and gentlemen, before we get into this podcast, I just want to let you guys know to subscribe, like, tell your mom, tell your friends about me. Drop us the comments. You can support me on Patreon. And buckle up. Let's get this show on the road. All right, so we got Alex Cheong in the house. This guy is a entrepreneur. He is a mentor. He is a spiritual. Do you want to give yourself the introduction? Because you had all of these specific titles for yourself, and I wrote them down, but I lost it. Damn it. What do you call yourself? A spiritual...
Krish, that is a super introduction.
Spiritual businessman. That's the phrase I was looking for.
It's the spiritual business coach and mentor. That's originally my background. Long story short, I did have an events background, pre-COVID. Obviously been in Melbourne, God knows how long. It's been a very, a tale of hardship actually, because I reflect on this time last year where we're still in lockdown, brother. You know what I mean? 8 p.m. curfew. Couldn't leave the house more than 5Ks. I lost my events business that was thriving. On top of that, my dad passed away as well.
Oh, did we have this conversation?
I'm just gonna be really vulnerable and just share.
I lost my father as well in 2020, man.
Okay, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing I've gone through before. Go on.
Yeah, so essentially, my belief though is that life is a concept of duality, and that also life happens for us and not to us. So with that strong belief, it really helped, put myself into a greater perspective of what I have, what I created, what I lost. But like I mentioned, because my belief is that life is a concept of duality, I unfortunately had to go through some really dark times. Like this time last year, I was in a world of pain, really. I reflect, like I had nothing, like everything that I built so hard for, 10 years, my events business, all down the drain because of, whatever happened around the world. We won't go into that side of things.
Sure.
But in terms of my events business, I obviously legally can no longer run it for a lot of other reasons.
Even now, as we speak?
Well, I started off doing entertainment. So like I toured DJs, I ran private school after parties, I did corporate events. But deep down inside, me as a person, my values are more, contribution, growth, connection, love, all those kind of things. So deep down inside, I knew there was a disalignment with running entertainment events. So it was kind of like a blessing in disguise that this actually did happen. Okay, that's my empowering belief that life happens for me. So when this whole, COVID pandemic thing happened, it shifted me. It shifted my whole life in so many different ways. You know, losing the events business, losing my dad. So I had to do a lot of, I call it inner work or shadow work. You know, just do that really inner work that really made me be grateful, even though I was really down on my knees because, you know, I had no income coming in. I had to figure stuff out really quickly, as well as had to heal. Okay, heal myself, heal my family, etc. So, you know, during that time, it was 12 months of absolute, or 24 months, I'd even say. You know, it's sort of dad passed away at the start of COVID, lost the events business. I talk about...
And I can imagine, were you able to, for the funeral, because I had these issues, did you have difficulty trying to get everyone there in terms of the restrictions?
We couldn't have 10, like my sister who's in Singapore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she couldn't fly down. She still hasn't been back down. We could only have like, I think 5 family friends on top of, you know, my immediate family. Just for whatever's happening, you know what I mean? So fast forward to today, we can sort of see how painful, how much of a joke it really was.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, like your father, how did he pass away?
It was just through, he had a heart condition. So it was a natural death, but it's still painful, you know? Yeah, because like, you know, relatively, he wasn't super old, you know, he's like 70. But life is short, you know what I mean? Life is short. So it gave me this epiphany, I guess, to really do more, be more, you know, like I believe, you know, I was born in this world to really help people. That's my belief, you know, that's why I love what I do. You know, it sort of shifted me from being an events guy into now doing spiritual business coaching. You know, on top of that, I guess my main mission is actually to break the cycle of generational trauma. Okay. So it's pretty powerful, but I want to help people. So it's a flow and effect. So with some of the business, I'm in a mastermind myself, but I also run a business mastermind that is very spiritual, where everyone helps each other to win. Because I believe that's what life should be all about, instead of, you know, the corporate dog eat dog world, etc.
Yeah, I want to get into that, but I just want to highlight the fact that we went through so many commonalities. I lost my father as well. He actually had complications with his heart. I had an aneurysm previously, but essentially it was related to his heart, like with yours. Yeah. It happened in around 2020. Was that the was August. In fact, the 2nd year anniversary was just a few months ago. And like I'm sure you went through, was the hardest thing I've ever gone through. And it's interesting because the same thing that you started focusing on, purpose of life, like realizing the importance of actually having impact because of the finite time that there is. That's the same realization that I went through. I look back on my dad's life, the things that he was doing, and, you know, granted he had kids and obviously we were his priority. I've always thought, what do I want to do with my life? Because before you know it, you know, just like that. I mean, I started getting to know my father more so around, you know, the time of like he would have been around the same age as me, you know, when I moved here, you know. And you know, I just think back on how my life, it's going just like that. And unless, of course, I really become conscious of what I'm experiencing, before I know it, I'm going to, you know, I'm being in the same situation, and I want to make sure that I have done as much as I can. But in regards to you, like in terms of the effect that it had with you, because look, I don't want to gloss over this. Losing a parent is a huge deal. That combined with everything that's going on, it's like you were going through a dark night of the soul times 10, you know?
Bro,
So, I mean, this... How did this affect? Do you want to speak a bit more about how this just affected your, like your, not just your business, but your entire mental health?
100%. Like, you know, it was challenging. Definitely, mental state was real. Well, apart, like, you know, like any man, you know, I train hard. We do other things to really release, you know, stress, etc. That was taken away from us. Did forget to mention that sort of had a partner at the time, and we sort of decided to split as well. So
that's
you can sort of see
around the same time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Bro,
I was like everything. So literally,
you're one up on me then, man. You know, that's
so. Pretty much at that, you know, at that age and at that time, I pretty much just started from fresh. But there was something inside of me. I don't know what it was. Maybe it is my purpose, my passion, my mission, my why about wanting to impact lives. And I'm grateful to say that, you know, within probably been a long 12 months, but I've been able to rebuild it successfully, which I'm super grateful for, because my belief is that the universe does have my back. You know, if you are a good person and you want to impact and help people out, I've seen so many things happen that have supported me, and I'm grateful. I feel really blessed at this time right now. But during that time, to answer your question, I was in a world of pain, man. Every day I prayed. I worked on my mental health. I went for a hike and all these little things, but most importantly, I worked on my inner self, my spirit, and something called shadow work, which we can delve a little bit into, you know, yin and yang, you know, darkness, lightness. Like for me to appreciate what I have now, like I said, I had to go through some really dark times. So
Sure.
in order for me to overcome that, I also know that can be a really empowering story. Can also really help inspire people. And also, you know what? I'm nothing special. Literally, like, you know, I did the Asian dad, went to school. He wanted me to become a doctor, but I'm a bit of a black sheep of the family. So I decided to do what I was really passionate about at the time. And, you know, being a people's person, I did love to run events, but I realized that as I moved towards my spirituality side, I loved running more retreats and all this stuff. So at the start of, it was, April 2020, just about to run a retreat. And then that was when, boom, everything just stopped. The whole world stopped. Yeah.
So how do you mix the business with the spirituality? Because these are areas that you both pursue on a professional level. I mean, I get the impression you're both a mentor, a life coach. You have a very spiritual outlook in the world. But I also know you're very business driven. So in terms of impacting people, are these things that you incorporate into your business, like the mental development and the life coaching? I mean, what is it that you actually do, and how does this relate to the spiritual side of things?
Great question. So for me, it's been a heart-centered person, you know, and so it is challenging. Like my business is a spiritual game. That's how I see it. Okay. So the reason I've been able to really create significant income is because I made so much impact. Okay. So impact is income as well. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's amazing. So
Currency,
within,
right?
within the space of, I'd say, 12 months, I've been able to help over 100 people now. So I'm super grateful.
Help how many people?
Over 100. So in different areas of life. So I did start off as a mindset and sort of life coach because of the challenges I went through. But because of my background in running multiple six-figure businesses, I've been able to help a lot of people create like either their first 20K month or even up to over six figures. So that's my strong suit, because my entrepreneurial skills, I realized I was really good at looking at business strategies, looking at energetics and seeing what works well and just applying the fundamentals. But most importantly is focusing on the impact of how we can help and serve more people. So it's a movement that I'm trying to create as well.
Wow. Well, I'm going to try to get my money's worth here, because one of the reasons I love having these podcasts is I get to have amazing people like you and get you to divulge your information for free. So, bro, you help. I mean, this is such an important aspect of life right now, because look, a lot of spiritual people have this idea that money and spirituality shouldn't be intertwined, but essentially, in order to have the greatest impact that you can, money is the utility that we're using to manifest that change in this Euclidean meat space reality, as I like to call it. So obviously we need to make sure that not only our mental game is strong and our physical health game is strong, but our financial game. So you're obviously someone that maximizes that. What can a brother like myself do if I want to get my financial game on, so I can impress lots of girls? No, I mean, did I say that a lot? So I can impact all the people with positive truth and expand my podcast. Of course, it's got nothing to do with women.
It's a two-way street as well. I love that. Great question there. So I have a couple of programs and signature systems. You know, for me, in order for me to consciously create now, I had to really look at myself first. Okay, my inner self, because in order to have quantum leaps, or you know, you have to look at one. It's like healing ourselves. Forgiveness. I call it forgiveness. Okay, so this is like a six-step signature system that I use to help my clients. First of all, look at what hurt us, because unfortunately in this world, hurt people hurt people. Okay, so most importantly, I had to do a lot of healing on myself. Ho'oponopono. Not sure if you ever heard that term. Ho'oponopono. It's a
Hawaiian, right?
Yeah, exactly. So essentially, I had to look into my triggers. Okay, my projections. Okay.
What does Ho'oponopono mean? I've heard it before, but it's a beautiful phrase.
So I went to an event called Date with Destiny, okay? And on my bracelet, okay, I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but it says, "I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. Thank you."
They are amongst the most powerful phrases.
That's my motto. That's one of my, if I was to get a tattoo, it'd be something like that as well. You know, just because it reminds me of how precious life is. And, you know, in the ultimate frequency, it is about enlightenment. You know, talk about peace, love. They're the highest frequencies. You know what I mean? If we really, really go deep into the spirituality side of things, you can have, like I said, the last few years have shown us, you know, you could have been a multimillionaire and still not leave Melbourne, or still not have any sense of purpose or true mission if you didn't realize what this world is turning into. You know what I mean? As we delve deeper into the spirituality side of things.
Absolutely.
So for me, you know, I really had to dig deep into going, okay, what were the triggers and things that really hurt me? And I had to forgive myself and I had to forgive others. Okay. And then from there, I do have a background. I do have a master's in neuro-linguistic programming. So that's understanding about levels of consciousness, understanding about how to communicate more effectively, you know, the brain, etc., human needs. So for me, I had to look at all those things, my values, things that really help drive me and propel me forward. Okay. So the first step I would say is really look into forgiveness. Okay. Because you can't help people if you can't help yourself. Okay. And first you need to help yourself first. That's what I had to do. I had to make sure that I was okay before I could go and do what I do. Okay.
So it's interesting when most people, at least when I hear forgiveness, I think about forgiving other people. But obviously the focus here is forgiving yourself, which is just as important.
Yeah. Like, you know, we're all human. I think, you know, part of it is a mistake is only a mistake if you keep repeating it over and over again. If you hear what I'm saying, you know what I mean?
When you don't learn from it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for me, you know, I've made so many mistakes, but I've failed forward. You know, even with this business I've created now, I've made a lot of mistakes, but I learn. That's the most important thing, and you just fail forward, and that's what entrepreneurs do as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a fine balance. Yeah.
You know, it's an interesting attitude because a lot of development, personal development, has to do with the way in which you view a situation. Whereas there are some people that understand, okay, I've made a mistake. Like I get the impression you're someone that has failed forward. I think you said something to that effect.
Yeah.
You learn from these mistakes business-wise, and they catapulted you into doing what you're doing now. You know, you mentioned you're making the most money you've ever made, right? There are some people that I've noticed anyway, they have this mindset where they refuse to even look at what they've done as a mistake. Like if they've done something, they will reprogram the situation in their mind, so they will look at that as a fortunate event, even. You know, like, no, I've never failed. Everything that I did was successful. It was all done. And I don't know, I've always my mindset is that if you don't acknowledge that certain things are wrong, then obviously your attitude is that they're acceptable to continue doing, you know? But I also believe that it's important to, like, you've heard of the concept of frame, right?
Yeah.
The context in which you view your reality. A lot of the times, I feel that by people looking at difficult things that they've gone through, even mistakes, as a powerful, positive thing, it helps catapult them into having this success attitude, like not looking at themselves in a failure kind of mindset. And I guess I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that, because whereas I think they can both be beneficial, like how do you fit that sits with your worldview? Like, I realize that there is an element where you want to be real about the things that you've been confronted with, right? Whether
100%.
they were failure, success, and also you want to create this narrative about what you're doing, you know, like, I'm greatest, I've never been defeated before, you know, Muhammad Ali would have this mentality, you know, talk himself up as a way of psyching himself up.
Yeah, that's definitely more, I'd say, ego or shadow work to a lot of ways, but for me, it's everything that I've learned is literally 80% mindset, 20% strategies and mechanics. Okay, so it's not always about positive thinking or, you know, all that kind of stuff. You've got to be realistic about what you're doing. Like, it's hard. Like, what I'm doing, it's simple, but it's hard. There's days where, everyone wants to give up, but I lean into my why, my belief, my mission, my purpose. Okay, and most importantly is, just understanding the mindset side of things. Okay, because everything, even in life, gym, everything, I treat my business like I go to the gym, reps and sets. You know what I mean? Like, you understand what I'm saying? You know, you do, you know, 8 to 10, you know, reps or sets. Okay, you know, consistently you're going to build momentum, or you're going to build muscle. Okay, I use that same analogy with my business. So if I keep doing the right things, I'm going to build momentum. Okay,
Absolutely.
So it's just really important to really have that mindset of going, all right, how can I improve even just 1% better every day? Okay, because that's, like, for me, life is about growth, because you're either growing or you're dying. You know what I mean? Because you look at the heartbeat, you know what I mean? If you're flat, what's happened? You're dead, yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay, so life
you
is
need
constantly
those
like that, but you want to be
hills.
constantly, you want to be constantly moving up. And for me, I think that's why I love what I do. It's that it is a spiritual game for me, about growth, about impact. Like, you know, my mission is literally, I want to impact 1 million lives. I know it's crazy, it sounds massive, but hey, you know what? I've declared it on this this podcast.
Well, when you say impact 1 million lives, because I mean, we're in the world of social media where you can have a video go viral and hit millions of people like that. But when you say you want to change someone's life, how does that translate into the effect that it has on them, and what are you bringing into their lives to manifest.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Specifically.
on top of being a spiritual business coach, my mastermind is more about helping raise the consciousness of humanity, whether it be men or women. I think it's important that, especially in this day and age now, we all become socially conscious in a lot of ways so that we can help improve this world. Like, the world is in crisis right now, guys. We won't go into that kind of stuff as
I
we
think
will.
anyone that's even remotely
yeah,
aware
like
knows that
if we're aware now,
we're
like
in
these
crisis.
days, you think about
Yeah.
what's actually happening. Like 2 years ago, I literally lost everything because of this virus or pandemic. Okay, and now fast forward today, it's still like, was it 2019? 2022 now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to go through a lot of pain, a lot of shitty times, and all for what? Just this. I couldn't. My dad didn't even get the proper send off he deserved.
Likewise.
Okay,
Yeah.
you understand. So there's a lot of pain. So for me, what happens is that your brain either moves towards pleasure or moves away from pain. Okay, so because I've been in that state of pain, I don't want to ever go back down there.
Sure.
Okay, so now my passion and my intrinsic motivation is to really help heal the world so that we can all either find our purpose, our vision, and just help each other win. Okay, so ultimately, my mission is to help people help people. It's a flow-on effect. Okay, so for example, I know through this podcast, I'm going to try and give you as much value, as much gold. That's going to either help you, your business, your life, and hopefully you can pay it forward, even with your TikToks, even with this like podcast. Okay, and then from there, I'm sure we can, bit by bit, just do our part. I'm going to be running events again in the future, so whether it be live or virtual. So, and I talk a lot about all this stuff, the mindset kind of things, how to live a fulfilled life. Okay. A program that I do have in the future will be called like Masters of Fate, where we are in control of our destiny. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like, my belief in this world is that we're here to either not make the same mistakes over and over again. Like, I'm not sure if you've read a book called Robin Sharma, like the life or the universe will keep showing you things, okay, until you learn that lesson. If that makes sense.
I've heard
Yeah.
that concept, but what was the book called?
I believe it was either through The Monkey Sold His Ferrari or another book. Like, I've read a fair few
Yeah.
through Robin Sharma.
I was actually
Yeah.
going to ask you a few books that you'd recommend, but that one, that's
Yeah.
fine. I'll
No.
have to check it out. I get the impression from what you're saying that you're someone that believes that regardless of what happens to you, you can turn that into something positive or use that in order to benefit people around you. You have a very can-do mindset. Now, I know there are a lot of people in this world that feel as if that there are definitely certain things out of your control. Like, there are certain things that people have gone through, traumatic experiences. People speak about trauma a lot now that have affected them so negatively. I actually got into a very tumultuous conversation a while ago, right, with a close friend that was convinced that her situation, the trauma that her parents had passed on to her, right? I know there's a technical word for that, but it was so strong that basically there was nothing that she could do in order to overcome her situation. Like, she was trying to explain to me that
That's
she
a limiting
physically,
belief.
and that she physically had no. It's possible that she has no ability to do anything to pick herself up and do certain things. And we're not talking about physical limitations here, right? And I got into the argument that I truly believe that your worries. I understand that, like, trauma is a real thing. That within yourself, you can always have the ability to take steps to change a situation
100%.
in order to improve it. Like, granted, there are forces that are working against you. The will, call it what you will, God, Krishna, Buddha, there is a part of you that has choice. And she was explaining to me that she has no choice, that I was being ignorant and immature. And I'm like, I was trying to empower her, right?
Yeah.
But it's a common thing I hear within the current social justice
100%.
attitude that you don't, that essentially we're these corks, in the sea, and we're being moved to and fro. Now, in terms of trauma specifically, how big a role does that play in affecting someone and allowing them to overcome their adversities? Like, how big of it is a thing in comparison to people's free will and ability to overcome their
So what you just mentioned there is actually part of what I actually help people with, because, essentially you can only help people that do want to help themselves.
Or believe they can be helped.
Believe. Well, essentially, if you understand about cause and effect, it's called living at cause. So once you can help someone live at cause, you've empowered them. Because what happens if everyone lives in effect, they're not taking full ownership for their lives. They're being a victim. When you live at cause, you're taking full extreme ownership of your life.
Okay, so this is.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got into this because this is where it gets very, very nuanced.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because what you're saying is that when you're living in effect, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, anything that happens to you, you have the ability to control.
So let's reframe that. So essentially, remember my belief is that life happened for us.
Sure.
There's two ways I could have gone about that. I could have absolutely played the victim state and go, far out, man. Why did I lose my freaking business? At such a young age. Why did I lose my dad? Why did I lose my partner? I've got to take ownership. Okay, like obviously losing my dad wasn't my fault. Okay, at such a young age and stuff like that. But
exactly,
I could have just totally crawled into my shell and not do anything about it and just go, far out. I could have just been a victim. But instead, I used that to empower me. I was like, you know what? I'm now building this business because of my dad. You see the difference?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You're using it to empower you. Because the issue that I think I get caught up in, like I've had this argument before, is that there are some people that have this extreme attitude towards the effect mentality, and they believe that if anything happens to you, it's your fault, you're responsible. In fact, I heard someone say a while ago, right, that, and this is it's not something I endorse, that, if a woman essentially gets accosted in the street, that kind of stuff, and it keeps happening to her, right, because of the way she's dressed, or someone rapes her, God forbid, right? Well, how much of that responsibility is on her? And explain that this effect mindset, I'm not sure if I'm using the right kind of phrase, but their mentality is that it's important for you to take ownership of everything that's happening around you. And whereas I think that mentality, I think there's truth to the fact that, yes, you can prevent things from happening. There's always more you can do, right? Like if someone breaks into my house, I could have had stronger locks. If someone rapes me, I could have maybe not gone around a dark alley. But I think there's a distinction between having the right attitude so you can prevent something like that from happening, and also acknowledging where there's wrongdoing. Like you've obviously done nothing wrong, right?
Yeah.
In terms of being raped, in terms of someone breaking your house.
Yeah.
And it gets tricky when people try to put responsibility on someone because they were victims, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at some point, I think you have to acknowledge the fact that whereas it's not your fault, there are always things that this is how I feel. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the things that you can do in order to improve the situation, right?
Yeah. Like essentially, whatever happened around the world, it was totally out of my control. I wasn't in the wrong. But unfortunately, it's a reality, like, the government laws, etc. Like, in this matrix of life, and we're governed by these laws, okay? But once again, I could have played the victim, okay, and said, oh, you know what? I've just been screwed over. But yet, what I did was I reshifted my mindset. And I said, you know what? Maybe events isn't for me anymore. Whatever happened for me has now led me into this path of becoming a better human, that I can actually help more people. You know what I mean? It's something like it comes down to actually your values. So if you ever study a program called Date with Destiny, okay, Tony Robbins, he's like one of my best events, one of my mentors.
One of mine.
Yeah.
Love the guy.
And essentially we go through a whole day of, essentially it's called 8 levels of consciousness, or in the neuro or masters of neuro-linguistic programming, it's called spiral dynamics. Look it up. Okay.
I've heard of spiral dynamics.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like different colors. Okay.
Yeah. Isn't that by? I feel like I know the guy. Maybe this is a different thing, but there's a guy.
It's NLP stuff. It is.
Yeah. There's a guy that used to teach that. I actually had him on my podcast a few years back.
What's his name?
His name just.
So the guy that originally created, he's passed away, but essentially, it's derived from concept of 8 levels of consciousness, or spiral dynamics.
Because spiral dynamics, I have heard.
Yeah. So it's different colors, and at the end of the day, the very top levels, turquoise, okay? And at the end of the day, the highest level for me, it is about enlightenment, peace, and love. Okay, so, once again, you look at what's happened around the world, the last few years have really shifted us in a lot of ways, especially being in Melbourne. You know what I mean? We're still not fully out of it. You live in Chapel Street, and it's still like, we might block that out. You live in the city.
No, I don't mind.
And essentially, it's still... I used to live not too far from you too, and it used to be like really packing when I was like running events. But now I look at it, there's still a lot of fear. People are still scared, a lot of different things. They might not even have the resources, another thing as well, because of, another reason. But to really, really answer your question, the most important thing is taking extreme ownership. Okay. You can either be a victim, okay, or you can actually be the story or inspiring. And that's what I chose to do. I feel like, you know what I mean? Because It's hard. Like it is. Like life is hard though. But the one thing that I do know, okay, is if you do the hard things now, life will be easy.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you do the easy things when you're young, life will be hard.
Yeah. And more importantly, I believe, in fact, I'm going to be bold enough to say I know, because I've stopped using the word belief now because it requires a certain level of doubt. I watched a video a while ago with this guy explaining that when you believe something, you don't
true.
know it to be true.
Your beliefs lead onto your
absolutely.
Yeah.
I know that having the mentality, regardless of whether or not it's right or wrong, for instance, if I believe that I can do anything I put my mind to, I'm Muhammad Ali, right? Even though objectively you're not, right? The best fighter. If you believe it, it actually creates the environment around you mentally and externally. Like there's a force to belief that actually is contagious, and I think it influences reality. Like I always think back to the observer effect, like the quantum mechanics test that everyone always makes reference to, the double split. Essentially, it talks about how there's consciousness within everything. The idea of actually believing that in an outcome, that is actually going to affect you. So whereas I know a lot of people focus on the fact that, that for instance, the objectively speaking, something might not be so. Like I heard a famous guy, what's his name? Andrew Tate. Everyone's talking about him recently. He said something that really, because look, I watch a lot of this stuff.
Okay.
Believe me, I have a lot of issues with this guy. But the thing is, he's super entertaining. He has trinkets, and he made the point right. Because I was getting frustrated at the fact that he was saying this all the time. He got a lot of flack for saying that depression doesn't exist. All right, and he had famous people like the daughter of. Who's that comedian? Robin Williams. Have a stab at him. Because essentially, Robin Williams. But he said a lot of things about depression. But he said in an interview that why would I believe something that is only going to make me weaker? Like I don't want to believe anything that is not going to take away from me. So I refuse to believe in something that is going to make me weak. Yeah. And it's that mindset of only believing positive things, for instance, refusing to believe anything that doesn't benefit you. Because granted, you can make the argument that there's certain things that you need to be aware of, right? Like if you don't see that there's a ball coming to hit you, that's obviously stupid. It's like that's stupid. However, the belief in the fact that you are not afraid, that you can overcome adversity, that you can impact things, takes you to make the steps necessary in order to impact your world in a different way. And that is what I find so inspiring about people that have that mentality. Because I find the people that are actually able to change the world are the ones that are crazy enough to believe they can change the world.
100%. Like it all comes down to internal alignment, because your beliefs, okay, they influence, your emotions. Okay. Your emotions drives your behaviors and your actions. That's how you get stuff done. Okay. So my point here is that essentially your beliefs really do dictate a lot of your actions, whatever you do in life, to drive and propel you. You mentioned something funny about that guy there, and even though it's controversial, he does talk a lot about all these things that, unfortunately, in this society right now, that there's a lot of truth as well with some of the things he said, and he's triggering. And unfortunately, in this world, it actually gets a lot of views, because whenever you have a view that is really out there, okay, it's going to get a lot of engagement. Okay, and with some of the stuff I do, because I use organic marketing as well, I don't spend a single cent on what I do. It creates engagement, and like I said, you use TikTok, I predominantly use Facebook, all these platforms there, at the end of the day, they do create either viral content or value. That's what you want to do. You want to create value, so then people can either look at you as someone that's inspiring, or look at someone that is a mentor. And at the end of the day, just by doing this, you could actually influence or inspire someone to take action. Okay, so to go back to what I was saying, is step number one is essentially to look into your healing. Okay, because hurt people. So once you heal yourself and heal your others and forgive other people, you're gonna be able to step forward. Then the next stage then is to look into our negative emotions. Okay, because our emotions is really what drives us. Like I mentioned, our state is our physiology, our focus, and the meaning or the language that we give. And then step number 3 is actually removal of limiting beliefs. Okay, so once you can really consciously look at, okay, what is the things that I tell myself every day that are holding me back? Okay, these are the things that are really, really preventing us from being the person or the type of person we want to become. Because we keep telling ourselves that we're not good enough, we're not loved. And subconsciously, what happens is we don't take the action because we don't believe in ourselves. Okay. And from there, we self-sabotage. Okay. So in that column here, once we can really focus on those 3 steps, and a lot of it is shadow work as well, we can then move into the next stage of life, which is consciously to create. And that's the stage that I help a lot of my clients or friends or whoever move into creating impact. Okay. But first of all, you've got to really do that inner work. Okay. Yeah.
That's powerful. That's powerful, bro. So I want to get to the heart of your values and perhaps how you arrive at these values. Because you strike me as someone, I mean, obviously you're driven towards impacting as many people as you can. You have a very conscious attitude towards the world. Where did this stuff come from? You obviously, you're someone that has, were you brought up in, you want to take us through your origins and how you developed your worldview? Because I don't know too much. All I know is you're a spiritual, top G. But
maybe not quite top G,
but like, in the right kind of conscious sense, man. Not in the sense that, you're all this like masculine energy, but you have this compassion and love, understanding, which is like the alchemical wedding. I think it's important to have these qualities 100%. In order to truly be a self-realized person. And I just want to get into the heart of perhaps where this comes from. What was your upbringing like, and what influenced you in terms of spirituality or religion, if you want to call it that?
Real great question there, real powerful. So, growing up, my parents were really strict, token Asian, my dad wanted me to become a doctor, but I was, the black sheep of the family. So I decided to like run events or run my own business, but this is my way to give back as well to my dad. Cause I know that he was such a genuine person and he would give so much to other people. Okay. But one thing I learned was that you have to make sure that you look after yourself first. You know what I mean? I think I had to rebuild myself before I could give back to the world like I'm doing now. But the most important thing is that I look back at my upbringing, and my dad was a Taoist. Okay, so I looked at like Confucianism, Tao Te Ching, all these things that were really, really like ancient Buddhas and saints and stuff. That's where a lot of my philosophies actually come from. Like karma. Karma is so important. Okay, so I base a lot of my actions and behaviors every day on how can I serve the world. Okay, is this going to bring goodness or kindness or light to this world? Okay, if I hurt someone, okay, how can I repay them in other ways? Okay, compassion is so important as well, empathy, but most importantly is understanding how to break generational trauma. Like that is my ultimate goal. Okay, of ending. Like growing up, it was hard for us as well because we didn't really being Asian parents, we didn't really have hugging, we didn't really have those affections and stuff like that. But a lot of it has got to do like I'm not blaming my dad because he for my great grandparents they weren't shown how to do it. Okay,
sure.
But for me now, awareness. It all comes down to awareness.
What is generational trauma? Let's talk about because this is something I hear a lot about.
Yeah, ancestral trauma, generational trauma, like the things that don't serve us, the things that are really like ongoing, that really, really affect us growing up as kids. Okay, so like growing up, like I said, if you didn't feel loved from your parents, okay, you're gonna as you grow up, what happens is you're either gonna crave your dad's love or your mum's love a little bit more. And that actually affects you in terms of attachment styles. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that. So you could either become like avoidant or anxious, or dismissive. And so, for example, okay, a guy with mummy issues might naturally attract a female with daddy issues. Because when it comes to sexuality, it's about polarity. Sure. Okay, so divine feminine, masculine, and what happens is so if a girl or a woman isn't healed from her heart and she's still got some daddy issues, she's gonna crave a guy that's a little bit older that essentially can feel that need.
Yeah,
okay?
Girls with daddy issues come to me.
I do not condone that. That was not part of my own speech, but we'll leave that.
No, but it does make sense because I see. I think of I spoke to someone recently about this, and she spoke about how she kept on attracting the same kind of people in her life,
patterns,
realizing that she had undealt trauma.
The wounds, essentially, they're called wounds. Yeah. And once again, remember my belief is that the universe will keep repeating these lessons until you learn that pattern. And I had to go through some painful heartbreaks when I was younger to actualize this myself. Okay, because I knew I had some unhealed wounds. Okay, growing up, of the way I was brought up as well, there was no affection, there was no hugging, all that stuff. So, but because I am a nurturing guy and I do have, to run a business, you have to be masculine as well. So the reason I'm sharing this is because I had this conscious awareness that I was attracting females that required like a daddy. Okay, and that was me. Yeah. All right. So, but once I've healed that wound, you then start attracting more secure women, people that are like co-creators. Okay, so for me, I'm manifesting a unicorn that is the co-creator, and I've just made a shout out to your podcast.
That's powerful. What do you think about this? Because look, granted, we're all influenced by our parents, generational trauma. I'm a big fan of the work of my man Lippy, Bruce Lipton, who speaks about epigenetics and about how
Dr. Joe Dispenza, I love him.
Yeah, he speaks about that as well.
Yeah.
But the role that the environment plays in influencing us, and more so how essentially our consciousness, because people often speak about nature, the environment, then they speak about your DNA, which I would say ties to the ancestral trauma, that side of things. But Bruce Lipton, in biology belief, one of the most profound things I got from that is he speaks about something that is never really given credit for, definitely by the materials, which is the idea of consciousness, that within yourself, you have the ability to influence the outer, that which is without, like the external environment, and overcome programming. It speaks about DNA, how it's more like an antenna, and it changes based off of not only the environment, but the thoughts around you. So, when people speak about their their generational trauma and things like that, one of the issues I have is that, whereas I believe that these things definitely influence you, I think that typically within a historical sense, like a lot of indigenous cultures, they were influenced by the entire tribe, by the environment.
Yeah.
So I think it's the idea of just bearing the fault on the parents, like when the entire environment is influencing you, and you also have the ability to change your environment. I think, I guess it comes back down to having this effect-based mentality, like realizing that you yourself have the ability to change this stuff, rather, because I noticed what a lot of people do is they say, my parents, did this to me. It's the generational trauma, and that's almost like a safety blanket for not dealing with the real, the thing that has the ability to really change that, which is yourself.
100%. No, really powerful insights there, and there's a few key takeaways that you just mentioned, and something that was really powerful for me was vocabulary. Okay, the words that we say have so impact on how we subconsciously go about things in a lot of life. I'm not sure if you've actually seen this experiment, but have you ever seen the experiment where there's a crystal or even water, and what happens is we say, if for example there's two different samples. In one sample, you say like really evil words in crystals.
Yeah,
you've seen this.
You're talking about the water. Absolutely,
so,
water molecules.
And at the end of the day, that just shows how powerful words are. But then the epigenetics, but also how we can actually evolve and change the environment and the words that we say. Okay, so what happens is, it started off with me. I was actually in a really bad state, like I said, 12 months ago, and I was pretty negative myself. But then when I started changing my state and the words I was telling myself, I could see my light shining. So it all starts from that inner
Absolutely.
work. Okay. And, Dr. Joe talks about it a lot of the times about quantum and that inner work. Okay. Inner child work as well is part of it as well. And once you realize the power of healing your wounds, okay, or the inner child work, you then are able to really consciously create. So once again, it just really starts down from us, as human beings. In order to help other people, you've got to help yourself first.
Absolutely. And it's so easy to lose sight of just how susceptible we are to words. I mean, you're into neurolinguistic programming. I'm into mentalism and all this kind of stuff. And one of the things that you realize, like the mind-blowing experiences I had when delving into this area, was the subversive use of symbolism in the media, words, magic tricks. Like I delved into this stuff, and you realize just how impactful words can be in affecting your subconscious. Yeah, like I've watched videos of people that have walked through entire streets, and magicians like Darren Brown. He's a classic mentalist. That he's got this classic video where he orchestrates this scenario where there are all of these different things in an area that these people are passing, and eventually these people arrive at this building, and it's an advertisement company. They're supposed to come up with a new idea, and Darren knows exactly what each idea is going to be because he has consciously implanted certain things around them that speak to them subconsciously, and it's mind-blowing because you realize just the power and influence of imagery and words as well. Like it's all affecting you. And
100%.
Once you start, I truly believe that if we had some kind of technology that could see how words are impacting our physiology as our beings, we would become super conscious about what words we're using, and also the people that we're hanging around with, because the reality is that there are certain. And look, I try to be as live in a big as world as I can, but you know, I think it's very important to pay attention to how you feel. And sometimes, if you're not ready to deal with someone that's having a very negative effect on you, that's only going to catapult you into more negativity. So,
100%.
yeah, I just think there is a lot of importance in that, and it's something that I often myself overlook. I don't consciously create the right environment by using the right kind of words, having the right kind of people around me, and so forth. Because my favorite quote is, you know, before diagnosing yourself with depression, make sure you're not surrounded by assholes, right?
Yeah, it's so true. Well, you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself. So, for example, you know, from a business sense, think about this: if you're surrounded by yourself by, you know, 5, you know, multiple 6 or 7 figure earners, naturally you're gonna become the 6th, okay? Because it's just the law of nature as well. Okay, so from a business sense, if you want to, you know, become a successful business person, then surround yourself with 5 business entrepreneurs. Okay, so for me, I'm at that stage in my life where, especially what happened in the last few years, that, you know, we do live in a 3D world, unfortunately. So money for me is energy. Everything's about transfer of energy and energetics, essentially. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
You know, I have clients that X amount, they look after me really well, but they get results. Like, for example, I've had a client, you know, pay me 30K, but he's been able to achieve 150K within X amount of time. So you can sort of see, because the thing is, when it comes to coaching and some of the things, is you either pay for it or you pay for it. So what I'm saying is, you pay for it with time, which is the most valuable time, or you pay for it with money or resources or energy. Okay, so it's so important that you do, guys, really surround yourself with, you know, they don't have to be entrepreneurial, they don't have to be driven, but people that just understand you, your vibe, and most importantly, they empower you. Okay, and you have similar values. That's one thing that I did. It was a really hard time for me because of some of my beliefs, especially what was happening around the world. I lost a lot of people in my circle. You know what I mean? You understand? You know what I mean? And because we have very similar beliefs about what's happening around the world.
Absolutely.
You know, the status quo is broken, guys. Like, one thing I learned from a very young age, not just because I had to be entrepreneurial, is that in order to win, you have to start playing a different game. Okay, if you listen to what's happening and you understand about the Matrix, all that kind of stuff, like, I was in corporate, like, you know, I worked for Samsung, some really big companies as well. I did the hard yards.
Yeah.
But once I realized the power of entrepreneurship and also making impact, my whole life just changed. Okay, it's not easy what I do. You know, I'm my own boss. If I don't work or don't help people, I don't get bread on the table.
Sure.
Okay, but yeah.
Well, let's get to the details of that, because you know, we keep saying the importance of, you know, I've been saying lately the importance of having financial literacy and lifting your money game. But so what would be the key things that you have done that have really catapulted you over the last couple of years or so forth? Because you know, you've kind of dealt with the spiritual side, the values, the mindset, what you need to hang out with the right kind of people. But specifically, if you had to nail the things that you got to the nuts and bolts of to do to actually, I guess you personally, to lift yourself up, are there any secrets you can give us?
It's about making a promise and decision every day. Like, every day, I'm grateful. I get to do this. Like, I get to help people. That's my belief, you know, and it's true. Like, you know, I'm in a pretty empowering position now where I don't have to rely on anyone else but myself. You know what I mean? I've got a couple of staff members that are overseas in Philippines, and we get to fund them as well. So, you know, I look after them as well, so they can look after their families. There's a whole, like, in Australia, we're in the top, like, if you have a house, you have a car, you got money in the bank, we're in the top 1% or 5%. You know what I mean? Like, we are super, super grateful. Like, you know, growing up, I was really, like, my parents were not rich. We were really poor. We just had to work hard, okay, and just be disciplined. Focus, discipline, hunger. They're like 3 secrets that I teach a lot of my clients with, okay?
Focus, discipline, and hunger. You got to be hungry, right?
You got it. Well, here's the thing. At the end of the day, you know, it's not necessarily hungry to, like, it can be a lot of different things. Like, for you as an entertainer, you do, like, you have to be hungry to put yourself out there, to create that content, to be known, okay? Because if you're living in fear, you know, how will people know how great or how inspiring you can be? You know, and that was something I had to overcome myself as well, because I knew that I had some gifts to share, but I was also sometimes in my head a lot about, because I'm a very private person, okay? If you knew me like 3 years ago, like, I have a small social media following now, but I hated social media because I wanted to be very present, and 2, because I worked in the event scene, I saw how fake it was. You know what I mean? I want to be as altruistic and authentic and present as possible. But then my belief changed when I realized, hey, I'm sabotaging myself by not sharing my story and how many gifts we can to help people. So that's the reason why I'm coming on here as well, to go, you know what? My belief now is that if you can help one person and they can help one person, guess what? You've now helped, at least 2 or 3. And then from there, that's how I'm going to impact 1 million lives.
Yeah. Teach a man to fish, right?
That's it.
Yeah. I feel the same. To me, I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I'm someone that is involved in a lot of different things and people see me in a different light. On one light, I think I met you through our friend Matt, and he knows me through this channel I do where I'm kind of silly. I try to be entertaining, but I speak a lot about what's going on in the world. I come from I guess a background where my dad was very much into the mysteries. Like, he traveled around the world. He was a member of an esoteric lodge, like the whole Freemasonry thing, that kind of stuff. And he was deeply into this stuff. And I was influenced by that. There's that realm, but then there's the whole entertainment realm, and I've always been in this state where like I want to be able to impart knowledge in the world. Like I love learning about things. I'm the kind of person that wants to know about everything, everything, all the crazy, and I want to live in a big world, but I also absolutely love entertainment, inspiring people, making people laugh. And that's, we were talking, I think we touched on, I'm not sure if we touched on this, but in terms of like what I am motivated by, like what I'm striving to do, I think the most important thing you can do is inspire people. And whatever platform you're using to do that,
100%.
fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
To me, music is such a powerful way to inspire people.
Yeah, 100%.
And I love the whole approach of entertainment. Like, I like the idea of being able to open people up to awe, wonderment, whether it's through magic. I mean, I remember hearing David Blaine speak about this, like when he was asked why he loves magic, that moment where people question reality. It's amazing. You see it not only in children's eyes, but you see it within adults that have their entire concept of reality blown up.
Yeah.
I feel that way also when I inspire people through music, when people open up, and 100%. It uplifts myself as well. Like when it's meditative, and I just think it's a really important thing to find something that allows you to inspire people. And with you, I know it's obviously impacting people in a positive way. And with me, it's essentially giving people that passion, that excitement.
Yeah, 100%.
Call it entertainment.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of I actually started in the entertainment industry, like I mentioned, and back then, I guess I just wanted to help people, have a good life, enjoy that. But because of the challenges I faced personally, I realized that there was even more to life. And that's when it really inspired me to go, you know what? Life is short. I want to help people live their best lives as well. Okay. So that they can consciously create, can make more impact. That was like my why, my mission. But it does come down to, like I said, your values, your beliefs, all these things that really help, really, really help motivate you intrinsically as well. So for you, maybe that's something you want to delve into in the future and go, hey, you know what really helps drive me to become the best version of myself, so that I can actually, help people enjoy life or help people, make the most of what they have as well.
Absolutely. I think the problem a lot of people face is trying to find something that they love doing, but they can also be paid for. Yeah. Like, I always think of this
word.
That's what
I teach.
Yeah, I think I feel like I may have mentioned this with you the last time we spoke. Did I send you, like, there's this word that I often always bring up in these conversations. It's a Japanese word called ikigai.
Yeah, exactly. Funny enough, that's part of my program. So essentially, we go through I start off with a 6-week program, but now I run more masterminds and weekly programs, etc. But essentially, a lot of it is understanding, our core values first, our beliefs, what our limiting beliefs are, the fears, and then we focus on passion and mission statement, why/ikigai. And that's I didn't know what my purpose until I had to go through all these challenging times. Okay. I just really shifted my beliefs and values and going, you know what? This happened for me so that I now have an empowering vision. Okay. So that's how I've been able to really, really grow and evolve, because like I mentioned, I figured out my human needs are growth, contribution, love, connection. So once you figure out all these things, I wake up with so much zest for life. It's 9, 10 o'clock and we're still, not working, but we're really technically just sharing value. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean by once you're inspired and you found your why and your passion, you just naturally want to give.
Yeah, that to me is the definition of success, because I got into this conversation recently with one of my friends who's all about making money, and I got into the heart of like why he's doing this. You know, he said, I asked him like, what do you love doing though if money wasn't an object? I mean, what's your biggest passion? Because I'm a student of Alan Watts, right? And his whole philosophy, like he's got this classic video about how if you focus on something you love doing and you become a master of it, you'll never have to work a day in your life, right?
It's true.
Yeah, but then there's the other school. Like I know a lot of people proponents of this idea that, look, if you want to make money in this world, right, you have to do things that you don't want to do, you know, and this is the mindset. Like there are a lot of people that don't care about passion; they care about making money, and I've always had trouble with that because I've been around people that are, you know, I mean, I don't have money, but I've been around people that have like real money. Like I've interviewed billionaires. I have friends that, you know, have a lot of money, that kind of stuff. And I think you know, they won't tell you, but you get a sense of how much enjoyment someone has. And look, money will cure a lot of problems, but I know myself well enough to know that unless I'm doing something that I'm passionate about, because I've seen, you know, having lost my father and so forth, and I've seen the life that he was living and so forth. He loved his life when he was in the Navy. He was traveling the world doing that kind of stuff, you know, but obviously he was doing a lot of stuff, I would say, in the end, because he had to take care of the family, things that he necessarily wanted to do, but was doing for money. And I'd much rather live in a place where I am doing something I love doing, 100%. In that place of ikigai, where I'm also being paid for it.
Exactly.
And
that's it.
I was just wondering, like, is that something that you've perhaps like dealt with in terms of 100%. Like before coming
so like
what are your thoughts on that?
A key guy is this something, you know, something you love, something you're good at, something that pays well, and something the world needs. That's what a key guy is. That's what I teach. And you know, we do have courses and programs, and essentially you need to break down your values and understanding like who you are as a person as well. Like with entertainment, I can already think of ideas like, you know, just with social media, like you said, you know, with TikTok there's a creator fund. Okay, you can create inspiring videos. We can actually break this down into snippets. Okay, reproduce them into small things and actually create hot content.
I will be doing that.
So there's long story short, I've invested more than $250,000 into my personal development. That's what I say to build the business I have. I've been the best of both ends, where I've been really successful, lost it all, and now I've just rebuilt it. Yeah. Okay, and I'm still going. You know, I'm gonna be scaling to multiple 7, but for me, it is gonna be about the impact. Because here's the thing, guys. One thing I learned is that money only amplifies who you are as a person. If you're a giving person, you're going to be more generous. If you're an a-hole or you're tight, it's going to amplify it. That's what I know. And for me, like I said, the last 2 years have shown me that you can be a multimillionaire and still not be happy or content. Okay? So for me, because I live in a 3D world right now, okay, like I could technically live, like just delete my social media and live off the matrix and just buy a farmland. I could do that right now and just retire per se. Okay? But I don't want to because I'm so mission driven. I need to stay in this world because my impact or my mission now is to really impact these lives. Yeah. And that requires me to have a social media presence, but also to be in this world.
That's what I resonate with. You know, like we're speaking about, we didn't speak about this, but the kind of people that like I most resonate with are not the people that are impactful in terms of the things that they have, but what they aren't. And granted, often they affect the world, you know, because of what they are. But people that are essentially driven to want to do things, you know, like they're actually want to make a change in the world. And you know, like you were speaking about just your entire attitude. Like I often think about how there are some people that are so focused on the outcome, right, that they're willing to lose everything. And someone that is like, you tell me your story, like the fact that you've gone through so many difficulties and so many problems, you know, I'm sure you've had heartbreak, you've lost, you know, close ones and so forth. That's what draws me to someone more than anything else. Like I like the people that have the will to actually go through the gauntlet. One of my favorite quotes is by Theodore Roosevelt, I think. It's called the Man in the Arena. And it's the most powerful quote because it talks about, like I'll paraphrase, but he speaks about how he doesn't want to be among the timid souls of the world, timid individuals that neither know victory or defeat, because there's so many people out there that don't want to fail, right? So they don't even go in the arena. They won't try. They won't have the blood and the sweat.
The
because the reality is that nothing is certain in terms of your success. I mean, granted, there are principles, right? But the defining quality is the person that I think that has the courage to actually embrace the adversity.
Yeah.
Because whereas a lot of people play this thing as a chess game, I'm not going to do something unless I know I can win.
Yeah.
The reality is you don't know if you're going to win. You just have to be doing it because you love doing it
100%,
intrinsically.
100%. I think, my belief for why I do things is that the universe is funny like that. The more people you help, the more the universe will reward you in different ways. Okay, that's all I know. And I've seen that for myself the last 2 years where, like I said, life really did humble me down to my knees where I had nothing. Literally like nothing. I had to start fresh from now. And then, fast forward to 12 months? You can, like, if you have the mindset, the belief, and you're doing the right things and you take action. So every day I have a decision to make, whether I show up or not. That's another thing. Okay. But it all comes down to promises as well. Like, in order to build value, okay, you make a small promise every day, you follow through. That builds value. Whereas if you make a promise and you don't follow through, your value diminishes. It's so important that every day we make these small promises to ourselves, whether it be like just say, having a cold shower, just showing up, just being the best versions of yourself every day. It's not like life is hard. Life is hard. We've all been through shitty times. We know that. But at the end of the day, if you do the hard things now, life will be easy.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know this is a John DeMartini idea, and it's something I really resonate with, and it kind of just pivots off what you were saying, that there are two ways to face this world, and one is to run away from challenges you don't want to confront, hoping that you can avoid difficulty, right? And, you may for a short while. The other way is to confront those challenges, and the universe has this way of giving you what you need. Like, if you actually work hard at it,
100%.
the right people will, like, if you can face the difficult challenges, the right people will come to your aid to give you that which you need in order to confront those challenges, right? And when you run away from it, you'll find that life will become even more difficult to get you to confront it. So by actually having the courage, granted it's more difficult initially, you'll find that the universe has this amazing way of working
100%.
to your aid.
I call that the law of it. Like, I believe in karma, affinity. Like, even how we met, and look at we now. Like, it's late on a Saturday night, and here we are, trying to create something that can really help the world as well. That's what I mean by mission driven. Okay. And another thing that you did mention so powerful is the universe really does, like, I believe, okay, if you are a good person, like, remember, life for me is about not making the same mistakes or learning that lesson, okay, so then we can keep leveling up, okay, into higher levels of consciousness as well, okay, so, when it comes down to spirituality and then business, it's a two-way thing, because what happens is that a lot of people, and this comes down to spiral dynamics, is that there's a level called green where they're essentially hippies, and they think that you can just go about life and obviously not harm a soul and stuff like that, and just like not have to worry about money. But unfortunately, you've seen the cost of everything in Melbourne right now. Okay, so that's where the fine balance of one, I call it money or energetic blocks. Okay, so I had to work really hard on that because growing up, my parents had a lot of limiting beliefs when it comes around money and abundance. Okay. And funny enough, there's a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and my dad unfortunately was like the poor dad at the time, until I met the right people, the mentors. Like, the universe blessed me. Like, I've got an amazing multiple seven-figure coach that helps me. You know what I mean? So technically I'm learning, his mindset, his beliefs, his actions, all the strategies, all that stuff to help me level up. And I did that through connection, like word of mouth as well. So you can sort of see how, when divine timing is what I call it as well. When the student is ready, the master will appear.
Yeah, that's powerful. You're actually the second guy over the last couple of weeks that has mentioned that book to me. I had a guy, you got to meet him, Akita, who's actually very caught up in the financial game as well, and was preaching a lot of the stuff that you are. So it's definitely something that I want to start reading. You were definitely, one of my favorite figures that influenced me growing up was a guy called Alan Watts. And I always loved the fact that he'd call himself a spiritual entertainer, because he is very much an entertainer, something I resonate with. And he's very much caught up in, wanting to bring about an efflorescence of consciousness and really impact people, get them to really tap into their heartstrings and so forth. And I feel like you're the spiritual businessman, you're someone.
I appreciate that.
Because,
it's been heart-centered. It's been heart-centered. I think, the more I give, the more the universe blesses me in different ways. Like, it doesn't even have to be about like money and stuff like that. It's just a byproduct, like, even though on the front end of how I may look entrepreneurial, I do help people make income, but it's because of all the challenges I had to go through in even my entrepreneurship journey. But as I evolved over time, I realized the more impact I made, the more income I received. So that's a byproduct of that as well.
Yeah.
And my belief is that because I'm here to help people and I was born to do this, okay, I'm now being able to create that abundance as well. So
Absolutely,
yeah.
and it shouldn't be any other way. We often look at money and income as being something separate from value, when ultimately it is essentially that. I mean, you're exchanging something. Essentially, all money is a form of exchange.
exactly.
If you're able to have a certain level of impact, then obviously what you should be receiving is something of equal value in monetarily, right? So yeah, people always try to separate the two, but essentially it's what you're getting paid is often a reflection of how much value you're able to impact.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, one hard question I want to ask you, because we speak about the positive a lot. What is one thing that you will not compromise on when it comes to business, when it comes to spirituality?
Integrity.
Integrity.
Like I've been offered like some big clients, but if we're not aligned, okay, with our values, I'd rather say no to that and move them to a better, like a coach that is more suited to them. That's what I mean by spirituality for me is someone that has, we have this alignment. Like I probably wouldn't even jumped on this podcast. Like I do have people reach out to me going, hey, jump on my podcast. But if I don't know who they are or if I don't feel like there's an alignment, then I wouldn't want to, to spend each other's time doing that. So alignment is so important in terms of values.
Yeah, that is such an
integrity.
important conversation right now, because I know a lot of content creators, just people in general, have been dealing with this whole thing a lot where, particularly if you don't have financial freedom, we're often at the control of corporations and we can't say what we want. We have to essentially just shut our mouths and do as we're told and so forth. And people, I particularly have a look at what's been going on, over the last few years. And people have definitely been tested in the sense that they may not have wanted to comply with certain things, but they've done that. They've had to compromise on their integrity. Yeah. And when I say integrity, it doesn't necessarily mean like, not doing, bad things. Like we all typically look at things like, beating someone up and assault as being bad things. But when it comes to compromising just things that you shouldn't do, right? Yeah. That's a big part of it as well. Like I'm the kind of person where look, there is no amount of money that's going to get me, because I'm the most shallow person you can possibly imagine, right? Like
You're good value, though. You're good value.
I'm silly and inappropriate, right? However, when it comes to, there are certain things that I feel so strongly about that I will not, I won't compromise at all.
That's why I respect you, brother. I think you and I both have similar values in terms of a certain jab.
Yeah, but it's just... Yeah, and I also find that I've been in this situation lately. In fact, I'm doing a job this week, and the guy that I spoke to told me that he was looking for people that had this kind of mindset, because he's found that like he's so frustrated with everything that's been going on that he doesn't want to work with certain people because they're so against what he believes, and it's very difficult in the times we're in having congruence with people, which is so that is one of my values. Like
congruence it's like as a coach or as even a mentor, the most important thing is congruence. Like, it's challenging for us. Like, I get challenged every single day, but the most important thing is I feel alignment and congruence because I know every day I'm showing up every day, even Sundays, like I said, Saturday night here, we were about to go out and here we are just, really talking about all things spirituality, business, how to improve our lives, how to help connect, how to grow, you know what I mean? So for me, congruence is essentially making that decision and promising myself and following through. Okay. But yeah, you're right. Like I said, if there's not an alignment, I'd rather not have that person in my circle. It's not that they're a bad person. Sure. Okay. But ultimately, I'm very selective with who I work with now as well. I'm at that stage in my business and in my life where, if I know I can help them, then I'll say yes. But if there's someone that I believe is better with someone else, I'll do that as well. It's about integrity.
Absolutely. Because I think, you strike me as the kind of person you definitely want to be able to benefit people in a positive way. It's tricky in this world because you also need to look out for yourself as well. And like, I know how I feel when I compromise doing things that I know are not right for me. Like when you have, it's like some soft drink that, it tastes good initially, but then you get that weird aftertaste. So you're with a woman that you shouldn't actually don't want to go there. But you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like you get drunk and you're but it's like you do things that are against your better judgment. And then because you have the foresight, the wisdom to know how you feel, how you're going to feel, right? I always try to err on the side of integrity, and not compromise on things I know I shouldn't do. And I apply this in, what I put in my body, but I also apply this with the people that I more so, because I'm in the industry that's fundamentally about trying to sell myself, like there's a part of you that needs to be like you need to prostitute yourself out, in terms of like getting your stuff out to as many people. You can't afford to be like, I don't want you listening to my music because you don't have it, but there is an element where like I'm the kind of person, and I'll just go out and say this right now, like I've been thinking about whether or not I want to perform at venues, right, that are going to discriminate on people based off of whether they've taken the magic potion, right? Because that's something that I'm not in alignment with.
100%.
And these are the kind of conversations that I think we're starting to have a lot more now, because we realize we're moving into a world where like it's becoming very, very difficult to
we're segregated, man. We're at the end of the day, like, won't open the can of worms because late at night now.
Sure.
But essentially, like we were castrated in a lot of ways, man. Like that's why I couldn't run events. You know what I mean? I sacrificed multiple six figures, but yet you know what? The universe has your back.
Absolutely. The universe
Integrity.
rewards integrity.
That's it, brother.
Absolutely. Let's leave it there. Oh, Alex Cheong, you are a scholar. You are a conscious, spiritual gangster, businessman, and many other things. It is an absolute pleasure that the universe has brought me into my life, man. And thank you for taking the time to do this. It's taken a while, bro, but it's great to finally
Made
get
a
you on
promise,
this show.
and I'll follow through, brother. Like
Absolutely.
I said, the Chris Tucker to my Jackie
man.
Chan, all right?
Yeah, bro. We
Peace out.
got the Chris Tucker, Jackie Chan connection going on over here, man.
It was awesome. It was awesome to chat. Appreciate you too.
Yeah,
Peace out.
brother. All right. Well, look, if people want to get a hold of you, I know you are on the social media.
I deleted my Instagram but I do have so I actually just use Facebook. So guys, you can connect with me. It's just my name. I do have a free group as well, and I provide value there for free as well. So if you guys need, feel free to reach out, and me and my team will support you in any way we can. All right?
Absolutely. This guy is going to take your business and your spiritual activation to the next level. Highly recommend you, brother. I mean, look, I've only hanged out with you a couple of times, but I definitely feel like there's a synchronicity, and like there's an efflorescence of consciousness in your presence, not just from the words that you emit, man, but from your energy as well. So
Appreciate that.
kudos, man.
Yeah.
And once again, bro, seriously, man, it's been one of my favorite podcasts. Can't wait to clip this, put it out on the TikToks, all of that jazz. Ladies and gentlemen, remember to share this, tell your mom, drop us the comments, and as I say, there are 3 things that cannot remain hidden for long: the sun, the moon, and the wisdomatic truth bombs of yours truly, the chocolate Nubian soul brother, and the spiritual gangster over here.
Peace out, guys. Appreciate you all. See you next time.
All right.
Don't break the rest, you won't make it. I don't even care where this road leads. All I know is